Is caffeine hurting your eyes? That's a question many of us have wondered, especially those of us who rely on that morning cup or two to get going. It's easy to find conflicting information online. So let's take a closer look at what the science actually says about caffeine and your eyesight. We'll break it down in a way that's easy to understand, so you can make informed decisions about your caffeine intake. First, let's talk about caffeine itself. It's a stimulant, which means it affects your central nervous system. You probably know it can make you feel more alert, but it also interacts with other parts of your body, including your eyes. Caffeine works by blocking a substance called adenosine, which can have various effects. One of the main concerns people have is whether caffeine can increase the risk of glaucoma. Glaucoma is an eye condition that damages the optic nerve, which connects your eye to your brain. Some studies have looked at the relationship between caffeine and intraocular pressure, or IOP, which is the pressure inside your eye and a key risk factor for glaucoma. It's true that caffeine can cause a temporary increase in IOP. However, for most healthy adults, this increase is small and short-lived. If you don't have a predisposition to glaucoma, that morning latte likely isn't causing any damage. A study published in Ophthalmology found that high caffeine intake was associated with an increased risk of glaucoma in people with a genetic predisposition to higher eye pressure. Specifically, those with the highest genetic risk who consumed more than 321 milligrams of caffeine daily, which is roughly 3 cups of coffee, had a higher risk. It's important to note that this doesn't mean caffeine causes glaucoma, but it might be a risk factor for some individuals. But the story isn't all negative. Some research suggests caffeine might have protective effects in other areas. For example, some studies indicate that caffeine's antioxidant properties may help protect against cataracts, which are cloudy areas that form on the lens of the eye. A study in clinical ophthalmology found that the incidence of cataract blindness was significantly lower in groups consuming higher amounts of coffee. Now, let's talk about caffeine and dry eye. This is an area where the research presents a complex picture. Some studies suggest that caffeine consumption may be associated with a lower risk of dry eye disease. On the other hand, other research indicates that caffeine can affect tear production, which is a key factor in dry eye, and these effects could either help or hinder tear film stability. Some smaller studies have shown that caffeine intake can increase tear production in healthy individuals. However, there is a lack of conclusive evidence, and more research is needed, especially on people who already have dry eye disease, to really understand caffeine's effects. Caffeine can also affect some aspects of vision. A study in the journal, Eye, found that caffeine intake is associated with pupil dilation and enhanced accommodation, which is your eye's ability to focus. Pupil dilation is the increase in the size of the pupil, the black circle in the center of your eye, which allows more light to enter. Enhanced accommodation means an improvement in the eye's ability to change its focus from distant to near objects, or vice versa. This process is crucial for clear vision at varying distances. You know that annoying eyelid twitch? Some people believe that too much caffeine can trigger it. While there is no major peer-reviewed study that conclusively proves caffeine causes eyelid twitching, many neurologists and eye doctors recognize the association. This is based on caffeine's stimulant effect on the nervous system and clinical patterns observed in patients. Other factors like stress, lack of sleep, and dry eyes are more commonly associated with this condition. So, what's the takeaway? Like many things, moderation is key. For most people, moderate caffeine consumption, around 400 milligrams per day, which is about 4 cups of coffee, is generally considered safe. However, individual responses to caffeine can vary. Some people are more sensitive to its effects than others. If you have any concerns about your eye health or how caffeine might be affecting you, it's always best to talk to your eye doctor. They can provide personalized advice based on your individual health and risk factors, especially if you have a family history of glaucoma or other eye conditions. Regular eye exams are crucial for maintaining good vision, regardless of your caffeine intake.